There was a man who did something his entire village called madness. He took everything he had saved for 7 years and he spent it all in a single afternoon. Not on gambling, not on vice. He bought seeds. Most people never hear this kind of story because it quietly contradicts something we were all taught before we were old enough to question it. We were told that safety lives inside a number, that the more you hold on, the more protected you are. But history keeps whispering a different truth, and most people are too afraid to listen. Centuries ago, the farmers of ancient Mesopotamia understood something about wealth that modern savings accounts have slowly made us forget. They called it the principle of the living seed. A seed buried in the ground is a seed risked. It might rot, it might be taken by birds. But a seed held in the hand, kept dry and safe on a shelf, will never feed anyone. It will only slowly die. The man who burned his savings did not burn them out of desperation. He burned them out of understanding. He had watched his father save carefully for 40 years. Neat little stacks of money that grew smaller every decade, not because his father spent recklessly, but because the world kept moving while the money sat still. Inflation is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply shrinks the future without touching the present. There is a psychological phenomenon researchers have studied for decades. They call it the endowment effect. Once something belongs to us, we value it more than it is actually worth. We protect what we have, even when protecting it is the very thing that prevents it from growing. We mistake stillness for safety. The farmers understood this. The merchants of ancient Phoenicia understood this. They sent their ships into storms not because they were reckless, but because they knew the harbor was the most expensive place a ship could stay. The man spent his savings on seeds, then on soil preparation, then on a small tool to help his neighbors harvest faster in exchange for a portion of what they grew. Within 3 seasons, he had not recovered his savings, he had multiplied them in ways a shelf could never allow. But here is the part of the story people always miss. He was afraid. Every single day he was afraid. He did not feel like a visionary, he felt like someone who had made a terrible mistake. The courage was not in the absence of fear. The courage was in moving forward while the fear was still there, loud and persistent and completely unconvinced. What we often call financial safety is really financial paralysis dressed in respectable clothing. We honor it, we celebrate it, we build our whole identity around it, and meanwhile, time moves through our hands like water through open fingers. The ancient Egyptians had a word for this kind of trapped abundance. It translated roughly as grain that forgot it was alive. They used it as a warning, not a compliment. Money that never moves is grain that forgot it was alive. This does not mean spending carelessly. It does not mean ignoring the future. It means understanding that the future is not built by protecting the present. It is built by trusting what the present can become when you allow it to move. The man who burned his savings did not become rich because he was lucky. He became rich because he finally understood that holding on and holding back are not the same thing as being safe. And somewhere, quietly, that lesson has been waiting for all of us.